Hey, what's up, y'all? It's me, Dr. Paul. Today on the channel, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to go over all of the key books for all of the appearances in AntMan and Wasp Quantumania, the new blockbuster from Marvel Studios. This is going to be a multi-part series because I have a lot to say about these books. I want to go through why they're important, Marvel Comics, what the market has done around them, and where you can look for value to add them to your collection if you don't already own them. I'm going to be going through some spoilers today, so if you haven't seen the movie yet and don't want anything spoiled, definitely don't watch the video until after you've seen the movie. By the way, I loved Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I thought it was better than any of the films put out in Phase 4. I thought it was an amazing kickoff for Phase 5. I loved a lot of aspects about it, what I'll talk about later, but I also think it was the best of the Ant-Man series. So if you're on the fence, or like me, you thought a lot of Phase 4 was just fine to meh, do yourself a favor, go see the film, see it in the theaters. It's better. It's the best movie we've seen since Phase 3, in my opinion. Right. With that said, let's get started. All right, I'm going to start small and then we'll build to some mega keys. So we're going to start with a spoiler straight away. So again, this is your last spoiler warning. If you don't want anything from the movie spoiled, come back and watch this video after you've seen the movie. So here's the first book we want to talk about today. This is Avengers Annual number 21 from July of 1992. This book is the first appearance of Victor Timely, who appears in the second post-credits scene. This was not considered a key comic until people saw Victor Timely at the end of Quantumania. In fact, there are only 28 universal copies of this book in the CGC Census, not because this is a rare book, but because no one cared enough to submit their copies to CGC prior to last weekend. I have a copy, of course, because I have a complete run of Avengers Volume 1. Run out and see if you can still pick this up from the regular back issue bins at your local comic shop. Bonus points if you can find a nice high-grade newsstand copy. Raw copies were available for anywhere from $2 to $6 online prior to folks leaving the theater after seeing the movie, but high-grade raws are currently trading hands around $30. CGC 9/8 went for as little as $40 from basically the time this book came out until 2018, but the last eBay sale for a 9/8 slab was $400. With such a small slabbed inventory available in the marketplace, expect this price to stay really high, and it could even go up from here until people can dig these out and submit them to CGC and get them back. That's going to take 1 to 2 months. Once that happens though, the price of this book is going to crash. That's just a fact. Don't give in to FOMO on this plentiful book and buy it at today's prices. 6 months from now, you'll be able to get this book for a lot less than today. Trust me, it's just simple supply and demand. This is not a rare book. More books are going to come to the market as people realize how much money they can get for them. And as people get the book, demand is going to drop off. So wait on this one. All right, next up, we have 2 interesting Cassie Lang books. And in addition to both being Cassie Lang books, they share a theme. So I'm going to talk about both of them together here. We're going to talk about Cassie's first appearance later, but she doesn't become a heroine in the Marvel Comics until many years after her first appearance. Her first appearance as Stature, with the power to grow giant-sized, is in Young Avengers number 6 from September of 2005. There are 902 universal copies in the CGC Census, and a 9.8 will set you back $130 to $180. Although the record high paid during the pandemic for this book in CGC 9.8 was $500. High-grade raws are going to cost you $30 to $50 if you're patient, although some raws are trading hands over $100. So be patient on this one. I don't think it's going to run away from you. This is never going to be a mega key. Her first appearance as Stinger is this book. Stinger is her sort of baby wasp persona, where she can shrink and fly and sting people. This comic, Astonishing Ant-Man number 6 from December of 2015. There are only 125 universal copies of this in the CGC Census. High-grade raws are going to set you back $30 to $40, and a CGC 9.8 like this one sells for $100 to $150. You can decide which is more important or get them both. She basically had both Stinger and Stature powers in the movie, although her costume was more aligned with her Stinger look, and she spent more time being small than there's just one scene where she's giant. But you can't go wrong with either of these. They're minor keys. The prices are not ridiculous. And by the way, if you don't own a complete run of Young Avengers, Volume 1, do yourself a favor and just run them all down. There's only 12 issues. It contains a whole bunch of first appearances and important things like first time a character goes by a certain name. So just go get them all. All right, now I'm going to step up to a slightly bigger book. This is Avengers 267 from May of 1986. It's the first appearance of the Council of Kangs. This book took off during the Loki Disney Plus series when it was heavily implied that we'd be getting a Council of Kangs when we learned all about the multiverse and how that Kang alluded to the fact that there were many other Kangs. Back then, there were very few slabbed copies, and 9/8 of this book reached a fever pitch of $1,600. Today, there are 343 universal copies in the CGC Census with a median grade of 9.4, and a 9.4 is going to set you back about a C note, and the 9/8 are now trading hands at a more reasonable $300. Because the appearance of the Council of Kangs was already baked into the price of this book, the movie hasn't really affected the fair market value much. These have already mostly been picked out of long boxes, but you could look for high-grade raws either online or at your local comic shops at the $30 to $60 price point. Count yourself lucky if you can find a true high-grade copy for less than $20. For those of you that like a challenge, hunt for a high-grade newsstand. And if you are a real curator, hunt either the Mark Jewelers edition or a Canadian price variant. Bonus points if you can find either of those and you just pay the regular price. You're doing very well. All right, next up is a fun one. This is Avengers 181 from March of 1979. It's the first appearance of Scott Lang as an employee of Stark Industries. It's a pretty brief intro. We get his full name, we get his face, he has a little bit of dialogue, but he's not Ant-Man yet. It's unequivocally Scott Lang's first appearance, and it has a great George Perez cover and interior art by John Byrne, two superstars whose careers overlapped 4 decades but very rarely worked together. I can think of only one other book where Perez did the cover and Byrne did the interiors. There are 1,666 universal copies in the CGC Census with a median grade of 9.4, which has a fair market value of $170. High-grade raw copies of Avengers 181 are going to set you back like $40 to $80. There is also a Mark Jewelers variant for this book and a UK 12 pence price variant if you like the thrill of the hunt and you want to curate something that not everybody has. Or you can do what I did. And if you really want to flex on your nerd friends, try to find you one of these. This is a double-signed copy by George Perez and John Byrne. As you know, George Perez is no longer with us, and John Byrne no longer does signings. So this double-signed copy is a real treasure. Despite it being a PGX 7.5. Like, I don't care about that at all. Try to find a double signed book by these two gentlemen of any book, let alone a key like this. I think this is a unique collectible that is worth a lot more than the fair market value, just because of the rarity and the importance of these two creators to so many people, not just in my generation, but for, like I said, these are both superstars that worked in the industry for 4 decades. So they had huge fan bases that actually span generations. If you really want to flex, this would be the one I would hunt down. I don't know how many more of these exist, but see if you can get one. I did an unboxing and an in-depth market report and in sort of importance of this book video a little while back. And if you want to learn more about it, go check that out. I'll put a link. All right. Last book for today. We're moving up the ladder. We're not quite to the mega keys yet, but this is a solid key. Like 9/8 of this go for well over $1,000. So this is a real book here. This is Marvel Premiere number 47 from April of 1979. This is the first appearance of Scott Lang as Ant-Man. It's the first appearance of Cassie Lang as a child. And it's the first appearance of Darren Cross as an evil antagonist. It actually has a few other first appearances as well. David Michelinie wrote both Avengers 181 and Marvel Premiere 47, and John Byrne did interior art for both books. And Marvel Premiere 47 came out only 1 month after Scott Lang's first appearance in Avengers 181. Michelinie, Byrne, and Marvel Premiere 47 cover artist and interior inker Bob Layton are credited with the creation of Scott Lang or Ant-Man 2. Bob Layton did this cover. This was considered a minor Marvel key until the announcement of the first Ant-Man movie. So if you're old school like me, you picked up a nice copy of this back in the day for next to nothing. I mean, seriously, this was a $5 book, for many years while I was collecting the first few decades. Today, there are 3,258 universal copies in the CGC Census with a median grade of 9.2, and a 9.2 will set you back about $230. A 9.8 today will cost you $1,250 as fair market value, which is half the record high of $2,500 paid for this book in a CGC 9.8 during the pandemic. High-grade raws are going to set you back $150 to $300, and there is also a Mark Jewelers variant and a UK Pence variant for this book for those collectors who are really into the thrill of the hunt and trying to curate a special collection. Scott Lang is going to have many more MCU appearances, so if you don't already have this book and you want to get it, I would look at that entry point right around the median grade, which is a 9.2. I might look for a 9.4 slabbed. There's a lot of volatility right there, and just be patient. I think you can get a great copy of this book for a very reasonable price right around that point. Well, that concludes part 1 of this video series. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to do 2 more parts because we have a lot of big books to talk about. Next video is going to have some big keys, nothing but Silver Age big keys. And then the last video is going to contain some true mega key, grail type books. So what did I miss? What do you think should have been on this list? What are you chasing? Let me know. Comment below. I always like to interact with the viewers. And until next time, happy hunting and take care of one another.